Picture this. You're playing deep at a big televised final table for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and somehow, some way, you miraculously flop 4 of a kind.
7-7-5, every single 7.
That's what poker dreams are made of, and that is exactly what happened for Jesse Lonis, fresh off of his deep run at the World Series of Poker main event. His problem, though, is he's playing against one of the absolute best no-limit hold'em players in the world, Chris Brewer. And you're gonna find that whenever you have 4 of a kind, it's actually pretty hard to get paid off. Let's see if Jesse can make it happen.
And he's gonna bet right into Brewer. Brewer fights for every single pot. Lonis getting everything he was wishing for. I'd rather have a Funyun than a Dorito.
Really?
How about that? Chat, favorite type of potato chip, go. Let's see
Or
what they
hippie.
come up with, huh? What did you say again? Like, can you not talk when you've got just a mouthful of Quest bar?
Sorry.
It's just dripping down your chin. Saliva. I mean, I've never seen Jeff quite like this.
A bit of a mess. We had a short break. What am I supposed to do?
10 seconds.
You're worse than Helmuth in High Stakes Duel.
Yeah, okay.
Eating his Swedish fish and candy bars, Pop-Tarts.
7s for Lonis. Raises it up out of the small blind to 225K. Queen Jack for Chris Brewer. Makes the call.
Lonis makes a pretty standard pre-flop raise from the small blind, playing roughly 28 big blinds deep. This is a spot where you definitely should consider limping some portion of the time. They're looking to limp re-raise. And notice here, if he limped, there's a chance Chris Brewer raises. Lonis would have ripped it all in, Brewer would have folded, and that would have worked out pretty well. So that's certainly a reasonable consideration. Facing the raise, Chris Brewer just has a pretty easy call in position. Let's go to the flop.
7-7-5,
Oh, my
every
goodness.
single 7 for Jesse Lonis.
Every hockey stick. Quads. And he's going to bet right into Brewer.
110.
I love this bet, Jeff. Who bets with quads? He knows Brewer fights for every single pot, especially on these sorts of textures. And there's the float.
Typically when you flop 4 of a kind, you're going to want to check to give your opponent every chance to bluff because they are drawing pretty much dead every time. Notice in this spot, he could actually lose to 8-6 of spades if a 9 of spades or 4 of spades comes, but you're not so worried about that. So I definitely think checking is probably the best play on this flop, especially since Lonis would probably limp with a lot of his medium connected type hands. And because of that, he's gonna have a lot of hands that naturally do want to check in the spot. But betting small is also fine, and that is what he does. You may be surprised, though, to see Chris Brewer call. But in position, getting amazing pot odds with 2 overcards and a backdoor flush draw, you cannot fold to small bets. If you fold to small bets too often in this scenario, you're going to get run over. And Chris Brewer is the type of player who absolutely does not let himself get run over. So he sticks around, and I think that's definitely the right play against this very small bet size in position. Let's go to the turn.
Jack of spades in his hand. A little bit of equity in his mind.
Turn brings the 9 of diamonds.
Perhaps now, if Lonis considers checking, we set the sort of trap.
What do you think is the best way for Lonis to extract the most value with his quads? Should he look to check raise or bet? And if he bets, how much should he bet? Take a second, think about it, and let me know in the comment section below.
Where Brewer can't help himself. There it is.
There's that check on the turn. Falling into that trap is Chris Brewer. Betting 250,000.
Lonis getting everything he was wishing for.
10 seconds.
Does check call.
When the 9 comes on the turn, I think Lonis should definitely check and give Brewer every possible chance to bet, unless he thinks for some reason Brewer's just going to check behind with a lot of marginal made hands. And, when check to, I definitely think Brewer needs to go for the bet, because that's how he's going to attempt to win this pot, because he's not winning this pot. So, I like the bet by Brewer. It's definitely going to put Lonis in a pretty tough spot when he does not have a decently strong hand. And to be fair, when a lot of people check this turn, they're not going to have a very strong hand, which is going to result in them check folding very frequently with a hand like ace high or a king high. And if they do happen to call with a hand like pocket threes, you can put them in a really bad spot on the river if you decide to shove. Facing the bet, Lonis should call and give Brewer every possible opportunity to either bluff or overvalue a way worse hand on the river. Let's see what happens.
About 1.2 million in this pot. Brewer with 950K behind.
Yikes.
And river's a queen.
And for Brewer, he may think he just hit gin. He may believe that that queen is just as good as having a flush. If he's trying to target some sort of 5 or a 9, little does he know that he's up against quads for Lonis.
325.
325.
And Lonis leads here for 325,000.
I do not like this lead at all, because, notice, Chris Brewer has a very, very, very nice stack to shove the river, both for value or as a bluff, for all of his money. And especially when the spade comes on the river, completing a possible flush, Chris Brewer is definitely going to be jamming with a lot of hands that have no showdown value containing a big spade. Say you decided to float with king high, right, or jack high with a spade. He's very, very, very likely going to bluff those all in. Now, you may say, should Lonis bet small and try to get called when he's against a 9? Maybe you can extract some value from exactly a 9, but I know that Chris Brewer likes to float the flop pretty wide, in position, getting good odds, and I know he's going to bluff a lot of the time on the turn, and I think most of the time in this scenario he's going to have an unpaired hand. And when he happens to have gotten really unlucky and river top pair like he did here, I think he's going to rip it all in, straight up for value. Chris Brewer is the type of player who does go for thin value a decent amount of the time because he realizes he's going to have a ton of bluffs. Facing the lead, though, let's see if Chris Brewer makes a fold, finds a call, or decides to still put all the money in for value.
Perhaps a little uncertainty for Brewer. I have to imagine he wants to call the 325. Could he ever consider raising as he thinks his hand is good enough? He's stepping right into it.
Time bank used for another 30 seconds to act.
I guess I just call.
I got the nuts.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez, you got.
Block quads.
I was supposed to be out of the tournament.
Hey, block quads.
Nice hand.
Yeah, I didn't know how strong you were. I was just like...
I hit a queen.
As you can tell, Chris Brewer had no clue what was going on in this hand. I would not have either. And he decides to just call, which I think is definitely the right play. Going for value in this spot with a shove would be a little bit too thin, especially if your opponent's a little bit tricky, a little bit trappy. And in general, I think when someone takes a very abnormal line of bet tiny on the flop, check call turn, lead pretty small on the river, I'm not going to say that they're always super nut heavy, but sometimes they will be. And in this scenario, if Chris Brewer shoves all in, I'm not sure most people are going to find a call with a hand worse than the queen jack. So I think this is a spot where you just have to find a call. You are going to beat some weird thin value bets or blocking bets with like middle pair or an under pair. But every once in a while, you're going to end up saving your stack. And when you are at the final table playing three-handed, you are highly incentivized to not go broke. So in spots like that on the river playing for a lot of money, you usually are going to want to err towards calling. You may say, should he ever fold? Because when people take that line, they always have the nuts. Well, the answer is no, because people don't always have the nuts. And whenever you're getting really good odds, you just got to find the call. That's going to be it for today. Huge thanks to PokerGo for letting us use this footage. Also, thanks to Poker News for hosting this video. If you want all the great poker news, check out pokernews.com. Good luck in your games, have fun, and I hope you do not run into quads.